All right, guys. Well, hey, Joe, thank you for going through the numbers, man. And it's always exciting when you're a part of a group that's growing. It just does something for you. And to Joe's point, there's a verse I love that says, "The world of the generous just gets bigger and bigger." And I think today, I'm always grateful to be able to hop on these calls with you guys, ones that are out there crushing it, killing it, because it's an opportunity for our world to get bigger. We get to give on this call. And I think the second thing that brings great fulfillment for everybody, we're just all created in the image and likeness of God. And so it's to give and it's to grow. Like he didn't call us to get stagnant, stale, or become complacent. There's not a Bible verse that says, hey, the lazy are blessed. It's quite the opposite. And so those that are giving and those that are growing, their world just seems to get bigger. They start to feel a lot more fulfilled. And with that fulfillment leads to being able to give more to others. And so today, guys, I really wanted to have these three individuals on. We've got Andrew on, we've got Austin on, and we got Noah on to really kind of unpack some of the things that they're doing in their business that's leading to great growth. The overall company is growing. And the reality is this, when you've got a big company like Pinnacle that's just taking significant market share, I believe Pinnacle in my mind is like the IMO that's saving the insurance industry, that's rattling it, that's bringing it back to where it needs to be, which is like good ethical value, with people that we bring on board, with how we grow, how we develop, what we go after. There's either agents that are kind of like right where the growth is, like they're growing with pace of the overall company. And then there's some that are kind of like pulling the growth up, like they're actually growing ahead of what the overall company is growing. And then there's some that fall on the other side of that, which I hope you don't fall on the other side of that. If you do, then this is going to help you get on the right side of it, but are kind of pulling it back because they're not growing at the rate that the company's growing. The guys that we have on today are all pulling the company up with the growth that they're having. And so with that, there's a couple breakthrough moments that take place. I don't think that Andrew, you might have to still admit as they come on.
Oh,
I don't oh, Joe's got it. Okay, so I
mhm.
don't think that everybody has 100 breakthrough moments in their life. Specifically, we're talking about business. You're not going to have like dozens of breakthrough moments. You're going to have a couple times where you're like, man, that was a breakthrough moment. Like I went to an event or I got exposed to a different perspective, some different information, and that led to a breakthrough, which led to the growth I'm experiencing. So really what I want you guys to share, and Andrew, we'll start with you. Talk about like if we're to unpack and I say, hey, pick maybe one breakthrough moment that you're like this lesson that I learned, this failure that I had, this perspective or teaching or coaching that I was exposed to, it led to this breakthrough. What was that breakthrough for you? And kind of talk about how that, why it was a breakthrough and what that led to.
I would say the biggest one for me was when we had the Scottsdale Summit, when everyone came out for that. Um, it was really eye-opening because I was in door-to-door for about 3.5 years, and my only cost that I have was like flights for me and my team, hotel rooms, rental cars. I never actually had to buy leads. So full transparency, that was kind of difficult for me at first because I was like, I have to pay for leads. How's it going to work out? On top of other expenses. And I had capital coming into it, but I was still scarce and didn't know how much I should be spending. I had guys telling me like, hey, spend 1,000, 1,500. And I was honestly my first couple of weeks, I was like, I'm spending $500. I'll make it work. And I was profitable, but I wasn't exponentially growing. And then when we had that summit and guys like Will are like, hey, spend a couple thousand a week and see what happens. And the second I spent my first 2K, I think I did 26K that week. So it kind of was like an eye-opening moment for me where I was like, scared money don't make money. And it's one of those things where if you're afraid to put money into the actual business, you will hit a plateau or you're going to have a good lead batch, but it's not going to be something where you can compound consistently. And I think the summit really opened that up for me because I saw not just one success story. We had, I think, a dozen plus speakers that event on top of like other people who spoke who all were sharing how that worked for them. So
I love that. And for you guys that are on here, I know that most of you are taking notes. I'd implore you to not just take notes, but to make notes. And so the question is like, you might have heard that before, like, oh, I've heard that before to invest $2,000 a week in leads. The question though is, are you doing it? Like I remember early on, Andrew, that, I had come to the conclusion like that was a part of the blueprint. Like if I want to go out and be a top producer, and I did, that I was going to have to get uncomfortable at a high level and take a risk that I was very opposed to because you came from door to door. So like most of your time was spent prospecting.
Mhm.
So you didn't have to spend the money, but you had to spend the time.
Yeah.
You had to go spend the time, not the money, right? Here, you get to buy your time back by not having to spend so much time prospecting because your money's not made prospecting. The money is made by serving people
Mhm.
that are asking for the service that you're providing. And so if you can flip that around and now all your schedule is spent not prospecting, but selling, you're going to help more clients and you're going to
Mhm.
make a lot more money, right? And maybe for somebody on here, like you've heard that, but you've not yet really gotten to a place and you put in these conditions on, well, I got to make sure I know the right lead type. So maybe you've spent like the last week, 2 weeks, 3 months calling everybody. Well, what leads you got? Or you get on a call and hear somebody that's a big producer and you're like, oh, they probably have the magic leads that I don't have. And that's what it is. So once I figure out their magic leads, then I'm going to get those leads. And the reality is like, it's the investment that you're putting into it, not the lead type.
Mhm.
And I know that to be true because I've worked final expense, mortgage protection, inbound, outbound, internet leads, you name it. And it's the same mathematical equation. If you invest X amount, you're going to get X amount. There might be more time or less time associated to the investment, but ultimately it's going to lead to the fruit. And so I absolutely love that. And maybe somebody on here even is, yeah, you worked a job. Like for me, I was pumping septic tanks. I was saying this earlier. So when somebody said you got to invest $2,000 a week in leads if you want to be successful, I was like, dude, that's a full month of me having to pump and smell crap. Like you mean to tell me like I'm gonna just roll the dice with 2 grand? Like, dude, that took me like 100 hours to make. And I was smelling crap, working 110-degree weather, digging holes. Like so my perspective needed to change so my behavior would change. And so I love that. Awesome. What about for you? Like what was something that led to a breakthrough moment for you?
So I came from a different IMO and I was just like I started like last year in June. I was just like I was working as far as I could like 80, 90 hours a week. I was waking up at like 3:30 and I wasn't making like any progress. Right. And then I transitioned to health insurance and then I did that for a little bit and then transitioned back here. And then I went to the summit. And they were like the process doesn't change but or I think you said that. So you're like the process doesn't change, but you do. If you're doing like everything you have to, everything that's required, like spending leads, listening to your mentors, doing everything you have to do to actually doing the things that's required, like spending 1,000, 2,000 a week. Like I did health insurance and I spent like 33,000 in like 3 months, right? So I was just like I was already like desensitized to spending the money, so investing in the business wasn't like an issue. But like what my issue was like the process. I was asking different people what their scripts were, what the leads they were doing, and I was just buying a bunch of different things. But if you're like consistent to one thing, consistent to one, type of lead, I was doing like digitals, mailers, like everything in different scripts, and I was just getting cooked. So I was like, I'll just stick to one thing. And I was asking Jake, it's like, what do I need to do? And he was like, bro, just restart, just reset, like become a brand new agent. And then that's literally what changed it. And then last month I issued like the biggest month I ever issued was 38K.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I love that because like there's been a lot of times in my business where and they can slowly happen, right? Like you
Mhm.
start to like tweak and adjust and make corrections too much, or you get
Mhm.
off trying to fix them. That's not really the main thing. It's kind of like I always say, like if you've got a sprained ankle, it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks. You need to fix it. But if your arm is snapped in half and it's dangling, don't worry about the sprained ankle. Fix your arm, dude. Like that's the greater problem. And so oftentimes we get more focused on the sprained ankle because maybe the arm that's broken, it's numb because of the amount of pain and it's just broken. So you didn't even realize it's there. And so getting back to like the blocking and tackling. And I love that. Like for some on here, maybe you could ask yourself, I wonder if like just you've been trying to come up with a Hail Mary play. A Hail Mary doesn't win a game. If a team is focused on coming up with a Hail Mary play, like the best one, bro, you might win one game where that actually becomes applicable. But what you got to fix is your blocking and tackling. Get back to the basics. How is your blocking and tackling looking? Because this thing's simpler than a lot of people make it out to be, right? And so I absolutely love that. So you got back to the basics. Um, you spoke about the process, and I think that's important because everybody's process is different. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, and Joe could he's seen this, like I've seen it, and I think as you build a business over a long period of time in this space, you see it more repeatedly of like how everybody's process is different, but how everybody still gets to the same destination if they just persevere and they don't get worried doing well and they just stay true to the process. What helped you stay true to the process and not like look up too early and hyper focus on the result that you didn't want to have because it wasn't the one you wanted quite yet, and continue to water the seed and continue to work the process? Like, what kind of helped you stay steadfast in the process when the fruit wasn't yet showing its face?
Yeah. So I'll literally let me pull out my phone. Like in January, my bank account here. Wow. Yeah. So January, I had like 40 cents in my bank account, right? So I made that my wallpaper and I like woke up every day. I was like, bro, what is this? I went to work. So I just realized because there's three things that are like a determination of success. It's coachability, discipline, and what's that third one? Coachability, discipline, and confidence, right? So if you have all three, like there's literally no way you're gonna fail. And the only reason there is because Jake's done it. There's David Wall, like he's a good example because bro was in the trenches for like forever. And then he just started breaking through. There's just so many people that just stuck to it. And it's like if there's people like if you go like I was on the Orlando Summit and I was seeing like people on the stage, like nothing against them, and I was like, they're not better than me. Like I like they're no better than me. So I was just like, if I stick to the process, I'll literally do exactly what they can do in less amount of time. Right. So I was like, as long as I'm coachable, like I gotta listen to my mentors. I'm disciplined. I gotta work as hard as I need to. And then I'm confident. Like I know my ability and I know I can like believe in myself and I can see the numbers that I want to see. Then literally it's only a matter of time that it'll come.
Bro, that's so huge. I mean, those
Yeah.
are literally the three, characteristics that, again, like I said, I really always want every call to be something that challenges you, that causes you to reflect and get better. So like the question is like with your coachability, like where's that at from a scale to 1 to 10? Because we hear it and people are like, oh yeah, coachability, like that's what you got to be. But are you really coachable? Because coachability gives you freedom. You don't have to think about what you're thinking about. You just trust the words of somebody that's gone the way before you. And you just kind of glean from that with this confidence that even though it doesn't make sense to me, coachability means it doesn't have to make sense to me. I just have to go execute. And I always say like coachability equals freedom because you don't have to think about what you're thinking about. And that's a beautiful thing that this business gives you is with Pinnacle, everybody wants to give you, what works. They want to serve you. They want to help you. It's an open playbook. But too often times we hear the right play to run, but we lack the coachability because we're thinking about, does it make sense for me? And I remember thinking about this. I read a book and it talked about like the big difference between the ones that are executing at a high level and a lower level. It's just their thought process. It's what they think. It's how they see something. And so if it made sense to you, you'd already probably be doing it.
Mhm.
So that kind of checked me and saying like, man, I want to be exposed to something that's gone where I want to go, and it doesn't make sense because that means that I can tweak my thought process and adjust, and I'm going to get a better result. And then on the other side of it, what didn't make sense, it makes sense once you execute, and then you see the evidence show up. It's like, oh, got it. So a lot of times this stuff only makes sense in hindsight. That's why coachability has to bridge the gap.
Mhm.
And then confidence is essential. And in fact, after all these years of doing a lot of top producer panels, the number one thing that I think I've identified, the attribute that all top producers have is confidence. They're just more confident than everybody else. So maybe talk about that a little bit, Austin. Like, what did you do to help increase your confidence?
Is literally practice. Confidence is competence. And if you're not doing it enough, that just means you're not working enough. You're not doing it enough, getting enough reps. Right. And a lot of people like with the coachability as well, like people just don't implement things. A lot of people ask, why am I doing this? Why is he telling me to do this? Why is the script so wordy? Why is the leads why is everybody like so angry at me instead of asking, how do I do this? What do I need to do? How do I do this? What do I need to do? And then if you change your mindset and change your perspective from why to how, then you're gonna do everything you need to, and then it'll just follow.
I love that, dude. So just to kind of spotlight one thing you said, what helped you through the process, because your process was your process.
Mhm.
Like everybody begins at a different place. Their experience, what they went through, that's led them to their thought process, their self-belief, their self-esteem, all those different things. And that's different for everybody, right? That's why somebody can come on and they can go out and write 40,000 the first month. Joe, you're talking about, was it Nor? I mean, like, well,
Yeah.
how did know? I don't know. Like, we'd have to like sit down with a therapist and psychologist and be like, Nora, talk about your background. Like, how did you grow up? What did you do prior? Like, there's something that allowed her to go out there and just get through a process quicker. And then somebody, it might be like a Colin, Mother Soul, like that took him like, I think it was like a decade, to make his first sale. Maybe it wasn't a decade, but it was a long time. And it's like, why did it take so long? I don't know. Like, we'd have to sit down and see, like, was it like a lack of belief, too much doubt? Did he finally get exposed to enough testimonies where he's like, yeah, me too? I don't know. But what I do know, you said, is that you got around a cloud of witnesses, right? Like, and this is not me preaching. It's just it's in the word. It says that you're saved by the blood of the lamb and the word of your testimony. It's saying, like, in order to build your faith, oftentimes, which is necessary to go out there and take a step forward through the process when fruit doesn't show up, because faith is believing in advance, so it only makes sense in reverse, right? So in order to have that, you surround yourself with a cloud of witnesses. And that's why, like, when you said the big events, the conferences, it's so essential, because it just it extinguishes the doubt where you're like, man, like, why am I like not having the result yet? Why is this taking place? And then that doubt becomes blame and justification and excuses. And now you're trying to move forward, but you're walking in quicksand. You're trying to march across a gap, but you're moving nowhere because you've already proclaimed out of your mouth these excuses, because you can't live with the fact that you're not seeing the results yet. That starts to just squeeze it all out, because like with that person, and they took a long time, and they took a long time, and this is what they look like. And so I absolutely love that. I love that. All right, Noah, same question for you, man. Going through looking at like a breakthrough moment for you, what was a breakthrough moment for you, and how did you get there, and what did that look like?
Yeah, so I started also at another IMO last June, and I was pretty part-time. I was juggling full-time in college, running another business on the side, and more so treating insurance like a hobby or a part-time job. And my bank account was really reflecting that. And switched over to Pinnacle end of January. That month alone, I worked the hardest I ever could, did over 400 hand dials a day, and leading up to Summit. The biggest thing that I took away from it was the just mindset and belief, and watching all these people walk across the stage, getting into President's Club and realizing that there is nothing different between them and me. And the biggest thing was just belief in the business and the conviction. And everything that I took away from that week, I actually applied. And we had a lock in the week after, did my first $10,000 week that week after. And then from there, I just it was like a snowball effect. I just rode the momentum. And this last month, I issue paid 42K.
Let's go, dude. Congratulations. So you went from treating this business like a hobby to treating like a career that was going to lead you to financial freedom. What was a big shift, like, with belief and mindset that said, hey, for one, I'm aware that I've been treating it like a hobby, and that I need to go all in and really double down with my behavior, activity, sacrifice, to show myself that this is no longer a hobby. This is a career. Like, what was the greatest shift there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just realizing that my vision was as big as my environment. And I worked out of my bedroom. That's all I saw. I'd occasionally go out and work with some people. But it wasn't until I actually was surrounded by people who were so much better than me. And I was just so coachable. I sat next to people who were top producers, pretty much just being like a sponge and just trying to learn all the information that I can. And I also realized that speed is super, super, super important in insurance. And in January, I actually gave myself a 6 month time frame. At that point, I was so in debt. I was struggling. Same thing as Austin, had about maybe $100 in the bank account. And I really just had that burn the boats mentality. And at that point, every single week, never missed a week of lead spend and really obsessed over KPIs. And I'm a big numbers guy. I loved looking at those numbers and being able to go back and realizing, what part of my process am I struggling at? Whether that's intro, presentation, close rate, just being obsessed with the business. That's kind of what like has been the biggest factor in where I'm at now.
Well, dude, just so you know, you actually had 200 times more money than Austin did because he had 50 cents and you had $100. So
Hmm.
um, you were doing pretty well. So, I think that that's such an important thing because this is something that everybody on here can really ask yourself, like on a scale from 1 to 10, how obsessed are you with it? Like what does that look like for you? And you became committed and obsessed, and that translated into tracking your KPIs, coming up with a goal, um, changing your environment, making sure you're getting around other people that were where you wanted to be. And I think that ultimately, like that's where it starts is like concluding that there's no shot of a doubt that I'm going to win and succeed. And if I win, it's because of me. And if I lose, it's because of me. Like it's on you. And that's an exciting thing because for most people that are in a career or in their life, their career is one of those things where it's like it's not just based on them. There's a lot of other factors like they got to wait for a boss to promote them or whatever. Like this ultimately it rises and falls on you. And the beautiful thing is that you've got other people in this business that are kind of like consultants, so to speak, that are running the same race as you are. It's like Noah, you're running the same race as Andrew. Andrew, you're running the same race as Austin. You guys are all building your own IMO, and you're a salesperson that's building your business, right? And so, but you get to run the race of those that are running the same one, but that are ahead of you that can show you where to step and where not to step.
Mhm.
And that's such an advantage, right? To be able to do that because in most spaces and places and industries, that's not the thing.
Mhm.
That you're not going to see that. And so I love the fact that you made this commitment because once you conclude like there's no way I'm going to lose, well then your mind starts to find solutions to win. But until you conclude that there's no way that I'm going to lose, that there's no shot of a doubt that I'm going to win, you usually find the problems. Well, it's because of the leads. It's because of this. It's because of that. And because you're so focused on the problems, guess what grows? The problems. Because whatever you magnify multiplies, whatever you focus on expands. And so, but when you're focused on, hey, I'm gonna win, so therefore, what do I need to do to win? You come up with conclusions of like, I need to have a goal. I need to make sure I change my environment. I need to get around other people. I got to invest more leads. I got to have a disciplined schedule. I got to do all these different things. And now all of a sudden it starts to move where it's not a hobby, it's a career. Because a lot of you on here, you want like financial freedom, you want a great career, but you're treating it like a hobby. And how you treat something is what you receive from that something. So if I treat something like a hobby, I'm going to get hobby results. Just like people, how you treat people is what you get from people. So like what label are you putting on your organization, your staff, yourself? Treat it the right way. So I absolutely love that. Noah, are you going to the Chicago conference?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it out. I'm gonna get my ticket today.
Okay, don't be trying, bro.
I
Keep
know
it
I
up.
will. I'm gonna get it today. I'm gonna get it today.
Get it right now, bro. You're gonna be sold out. So going to conference. Andrew, you're going?
I'm gonna get my ticket too.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys are all getting your tickets, and see, this is the interesting thing, and I think it's such an important thing. Like oftentimes, as we start to grow and succeed and win, the thing that got us there, unless we pause and have a call like this, right? Like you guys are now thinking about now what led to my breakthrough.
Mhm.
You might not have thought about it. Now you thought about it because I said, hey, I want you guys to get on and talk about your breakthroughs. And when you're not thinking about it, it's normal because you're just moving, right? You're like, hey, what's today got in front of me? I got to make some phone calls. I got 5 appointments. I got to recruit. I got to whatever it is you got going on. But you do. We're all busy. Everybody on here is busy. That's why I'm grateful that you took the time to hop on here and hopefully it's providing you value. But you're busy. But what happens is as time goes on, you lose track of the thing that actually led to your breakthrough, and then you stop doing it, which means that you just stop giving yourself the possibility to have more breakthroughs. Every one of you gave a breakthrough, and your breakthrough happened from being at a big event. You understand that?
Yep.
That wasn't planned, but it's what it was. But then you're like, you don't got your plane ticket. You don't got you don't bought your ticket, which means that you've taken it for granted or you've lost track of what really led to it. So what led to your last breakthrough is going to lead to your next one, odds are, which is association, getting exposed, making a decision, being exposed to a greater vision, getting around people that are where you want to be, all those different things, you lose track of it. And I remember early on in this business, I had old mentors said, man, you build this business from an event to an event. So for everybody on here, if you're a producer or a builder, your chief objective should be to get to more events that brings out the better version of you, because you guys all had the 40K in you, right?
Mhm.
Well, we know that now because it's come out of you. But you also all have 5K in you a month, 3K in you a month, 10K in you a month. There's different levels. And so how do you get yourself into a position where the seed of greatness that's in you gets the right nourishment, water, sunlight? Heck, could you get some miracle growth on that bad boy? Like, how do you do that? Well, it's from these big events. Does that make sense? And so if you're a producer and you're like, man, I'm not where I want to be, or you're a producer that's I am where I want to be, but I want to go to another level, what's the answer? Get to a big event.
Yep.
If you're a builder, you're like, man, I want to build a business. I want to scale a business. In this business, a growing business is a reflection of what? Growing producers.
Time.
Well,
Producers.
it's if you've got more agents on your team that go from 10 to 30, does your business grow?
Yeah.
If you've got more people on your team that are maybe in pre-licensing and they're just getting started, what's the greatest thing that's going to help them grow? Their belief. I'll give you an example. All right, so it's kind of like this. For everybody that's recruiting, you put people into pre-licensing. Are you guys recruiting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 6 in the pipeline right now.
Okay. Does everybody get through pre-licensing?
No.
They don't, right? Now, if you told everybody that when they get through pre-licensing, you're going to hire them as an employee and you're going to give them a schedule and you're going to pay them $50,000 a month. And they knew for a fact that was the case. Just like you got a job at Lowe's, you wouldn't be like, are you sure you're going to actually pay me when I work here? Like you wouldn't even think that, right?
Yeah.
So if they were going to get paid $50,000 a month to get through licensing, how many people do you think would get through Class 10?
All of them.
All of them, right? All of them. Now, so if they all would, and then they all don't, what does that mean?
Belief.
They don't believe that they're going to make $50,000 a month in income, or they would do it.
Yeah.
For you guys recruiting, it's like, oh, I believe I could build a big business. Well, dude, if you're not investing into recruiting and doing interviews, you do not believe that. If I told you, if you invested into recruiting, if you did it every day, if you exposed 2 people to the opportunity every day, that you would make 500 grand a year in passive income in 2027, you would do it. The reason why you don't do it is you don't believe to your core that that's the truth. So if that's the case, if the people in pre-licensing that are not yet licensed, you can get them and sell them on why they need to go to Chicago and get to the event. Well, what are the odds that your business grows? Way more. Why? Because if their belief is higher, they're more likely to become a top producer. Does that make sense? So this is why, like, when I always want to give you this the context to it, so you're not just like, oh yeah, whatever. That's why. That's the reason behind you build an event, your business from one event to the next, because a growing business is a reflection of growing people, and growing people are a reflection of going to an event that allows the seed of greatness that all have to be grown, birthed, and nourished. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's the commission. Now, Joe said at the beginning of the call that there's 25 tickets left. So unfortunately, you guys might not be able to get one. I hope you do. Odds are there's people that are signing up right now because, like, why would you not? After listening to the fact that these 3 producers all had their great breakthrough tied from going to a big event where they made a decision at a big event. Last thing I say is this: even Tony Robbins talks about it. He's like, people make big decisions at a big event. Why? Because it's just not the information, it's the emotion that the information is received at.
And the commitment.
and the commitment that's produced from the emotion and the logic that it could work. And so that's a big deal. Anything you guys want to add to what we're talking about here, or if you got one tip to give somebody on here that's looking to have a breakthrough, get this business going, what would you say?
I'll say it's kind of a two-parter. The biggest thing for me, specifically coming from door to door, but this kind of applies for anyone that had any sales job in the past before Pinnacle, even if it was with a different IMO, wipe your slate clean. Like you can't have the same mindset of every single training and objection and smokescreen that I dealt with in a different industry is going to translate over, and you're going to hinder your success faster because you're going to have the mindset of I kind of need to figure it out myself. And I had a little bit of an ego coming into it where I was like, I want to figure it out myself to get to that point I want to be. And the second I let that go, I kid you not, I listened to Xander, and Xander can be a proof of this on Monday, and I sold 5 that same day after I talked to Xander. He didn't do anything different than I did, but I understood his process was a little bit quicker than mine. And that was a simple thing that I wouldn't have learned faster
Hello.
if I didn't go talk to other people. So I really would just say edify the people that are in your office. Whoever is a top producer in your office, be vulnerable and just go up to them and say, hey, can I listen to you for an hour? I won't say anything. I'll sit behind you, but can I just listen? And I guarantee you, if you do that, and as long as you commit to doing that and build on that, you'll be successful. I promise.
I love that. Awesome. What about you, bro?
Come to Summit.
Hey, simple enough. No, what about you, bro?
One thing, I think it was Jake Ratterman that told me, is that you can stretch 6 months of work into 1 month, or you can stretch 1 month of work into 6 months. And that statement alone is what helped me actually realize that I was stretching that work out. And you need to be super intentional every single day with what you're doing. And like Austin said, get to Summit.
I love that. I love that. Well, guys, the reality is this, and this is something I would always remind myself of because it's encouraging as you're crossing the gap to where you want to go. The truth is that gap, the longer it is between like what you hope for and you're not seeing it, that's where disappointment is bred, where you just kind of like have to hedge against disappointment, frustration, and all those different things. But the truth is, like, in order to get across that gap faster, you just got to be exposed to those that have already done it, right? To get around them.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Ask some questions,
Yeah.
right? Like you guys all talked about, you just talked about getting with Xander and being vulnerable and asking questions. And so when you go to the event, and you can say, well, dude, I can't go to the event. And I've got a couple agents, ironically enough, that legitimately their due date for their baby is that day. It's like, all right, bro, like, hey, I understood, right? So now the really, maybe your extra committee, like, well, Paul, they could transfer hospitals, have the baby born in Chicago, get their Wi-Fi. I don't know, maybe, but a lot more to kind of overcome than that, right?
Yeah.
And so this would be applicable to every event, every office that you plug into is being this like lifelong learner. Like I mean this, like I've learned a lot from you guys on this call. I've done this 19 years. And every time I get with anybody, I know that there's something that they have that can give me some value, that can help me develop, that can help me grow. Every one of you has got the ability to help, to give back, to provide value. I don't care what kind of lie you believed, you are a person of value that can provide value. When you go to the event, be intentional, not just to hear from the speakers, but be the person that sticks your head above the crowd, that goes and finds somebody between time and says, hey, I got a couple questions. So I would just implore you, given the fact that this is actually the last call. So let me give you guys like 3 minutes of like sauce and framework on how to get the most from it. Go spend some time on the flight there, drive there, whatever, thinking about your business. I found that for me in this business, typically when I get stuck at a spot, and that could be a high spot, low spot, like you'll find yourself in seasons in anything getting stuck. There's been times in my marriage where I just feel like it got stuck, and it's like how do I get this thing back where it needs to go, and where we're sacrificing for each other, loving each other. It's like that with everything. It's like that with relationships. It's like that with your fitness. Think about how many in your last 25 years you've gotten stuck in your fitness, right? Where you're like, sometimes it's crushing it, but I feel stuck, right? There's always another level. And I think for me, and I wonder if it's the same for a lot of you guys, that you typically get stuck when you're thinking too much and doing too little. So you're just thinking too much. That could be like a producer that's like, I need to know more about the products. Like, what if they got diabetes? What if they had a heart attack? What if they had a bypass? What if their body mass index is this? So what? Like, stop thinking so much. Just go do, right? Or recruiting. I'm gonna hire a recruiter, but then what do I tell them? What do they call? What does that look like? No, no, no. You're thinking too much. You're stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck thinking too much. Think less, do more. But there's been times in my business where I get stuck because I'm doing too much and I'm thinking too little. That's kind of like when you're moving a million miles an hour and you didn't even realize that your breakthrough moments come at conference, you ain't got your plane ticket. Or that's because you're doing too much. You haven't paused enough and thought, like analyze. Ask yourself some questions. Thoughts are produced from questions. Ask yourself questions like, who's been the most valuable person in my life? Who's really helped me significantly? How do I get more time with that person? Boom, that just shifts everything.
Yep.
Because now you thought about it. Now you could just say, I'm gonna reach out. Hey, can I get some time once a week? Can I whatever? Um, I would just say before you go into the event, pause and think a little bit. Ask yourself some pointed questions. What are the great pain points in your business? What do you not know that if you did know would make the greatest difference? What are some of the distractions that you can get rid of? What's something in your schedule that shouldn't be in there? What's something in your schedule that should be in there? Why do you feel like your recruiting numbers are low? What's the biggest thing that can help with your recruiting numbers? What does your interview process look like? Is that good? What's your conversion through people getting into the pre-licensing? What's your return on investment with spending in $1,000 a week on leads? Like, what are you turning on? What could it be? How could you get it higher? What can you do to develop that? Just ask yourself some pointed questions. And now you've got questions developed from that. When you go to the event, have those questions and go get them answered. The reality is this, just this exercise going into the Chicago event, even if you didn't get them answered, like you're like, I got them written and I didn't get them answered, you're going to go into that conference with a student mindset because you've prepared. So when the speakers are up there, you're going to actually get more because of the frame of mind that you put yourself into by developing the questions, thinking about your business, and going into it with that kind of perspective. That there alone, you're going to get way more from the event when you go into it with that mindset. Does that make sense? And so prepare some questions. When you're at the event, take notes, be diligent. Don't just think that like you're going to remember everything by osmosis. Write down all this stuff that, is applicable for you, that's really kind of hitting you. Go back at night, put down next to it what you need to take action on, what you need to change, what you need to teach. It's an old acronym that John Maxwell taught that I went to years and years ago. And he said it's called ACT, action, change, teach. You're taking notes, making notes is what do I need to take action on, change, and teach. So that way you can really get the most from it, guys. This is not just a 2 day or 3 day or whatever event where you're like, you go and you get to detach from work. No, no, no. This is where you double down. This is where you're intentional, you're focused. Heck, if you really want to get even more from it, the event starts at 9 o'clock. I mean, you can be calling leads at 7 o'clock in the East Coast, right? Like set yourself up where you go in and you're just casting so many votes that you're the type of person that's going to grow something big. And you're the type of person that's a student, that's coachable, that's trainable, and that's going to be exposed with great expectation to take something to apply it that's going to shift your business up in the right direction. These are the things that, you could look back in December of this year and you can say, man, at that event, I made a decision, I made a commitment, and thank God I did because look at what it looks like now. The season that Pinnacle is in, it's never been in a season like this. This is very unique. Now you can say you're just saying that to like get us excited. Well, yeah, that does work, and you guys should get excited and get more passionate about what you're in, but it's also the truth, and there's a ton of evidence to support that. If there's any other point in time in your life where you can spend the next 2 years sacrificing the two things that really kind of reveal passion, your bank account and your schedule, putting money back in to your business because it's your business, you feed your business, and then your schedule, making sure more minutes are put into your business. This is the time. A great multiplier is going to be on the other side of it. So my charge to you as we wrap up, what I'd implore you to do is spend the next like 5 days trying to get more people to the conference. I mean, I think he said 25, but heck, maybe we could do another 75 and they're just standing, right? They're standing room only. Like, I don't know when we're going to close it down, but like, who cares? You do your part to get as many people to the actual event because this is where the impact will take place. This is where you put an advantage in your favor to go build something that's built to last, built with belief, and that shifts and changes the trajectory of your business and those that are building business in your business because they've also got a business to be built and it's part of yours. And so, guys, I love you. Appreciate you hopping on it and spending the time today. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. I would pick their brain, get with Andrew, get with Austin, get with Noah at the event, have a conversation with them, plug in, build relationships where you can do this together. This business can be lonely. It just can be, right? You're running a race. Build some relationships with people that, it's like iron sharpens iron. Can you get some more iron in your schedule the last 4 or 5 months of the year? If you get more iron in your schedule, you'll become sharper by the end of the year, which means 2027, you're going to cut through a lot more breakthroughs than you would without that sharp sword. So I love you guys. Appreciate you. Make it a big week. See you.